Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to head into section 1.3 of Unit 1 for our Anatomy and Physiology class. This unit, or this section of our unit, deals with homeostasis. Now, homeostasis is going to be a topic that is going to come up through each chapter. So you're going to hear me continuously as we move through this school year come back to homeostasis over and over again. So we're going to give you just the basics of it and some examples now, and then as we move through the chapters, you'll get more specific information, especially related to the chapter or the organ system that we're talking about as we move on. So your body has got to maintain homeostasis in order to survive. Homeostasis is when your body is constantly trying to maintain basically a healthy, normal state of being. Okay, so think about you go to the doctor. What do they have you do? You go in, you see the nurse. They check for weight and height, and just make sure that you're in that normal level for your age and your gender and all that. They check your temperature. Generally, the average body temperature for humans is 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. So, I mean, not that you can't be a little higher, a little lower, everybody's a little different, but you should be right around that. That is, the normal healthy level. You have normal blood pressure levels, there's normal glucose levels, there's, normal levels of everything pretty much in the body. So homeostasis is your body trying to maintain that healthy, constant state, okay? Constantly working to do that. My example here is sweating to cool the body. So if you think about it, you start to get a little hot. Your body doesn't want to overheat. So what does it do to respond to heating up? It sweats, and sweating cools the body and brings the body temperature back down to normal. All right, so the body has multiple values or ranges, as I was just talking about, with temperature, blood pressure, all that. Those normal values or normal ranges are called set points, okay? And they're just the ideal normal value, or sometimes there's a range of values. Like in my examples below, normally 98.6 degrees for body temperature. But when you're looking at things like blood glucose levels, there could be a range. Blood pressures, there's a range. So as long as you fit in that range, your body's doing its job at maintaining homeostasis and maintaining your healthy levels. For those of you who are I guess we should be doing more of a metric system, but I know here in the United States we use Fahrenheit, but my little thermometer there has got 37 degrees Celsius, which is basically normal body temperature in Celsius. So, all right, so your body has two major mechanisms that are going to affect homeostasis. There's one called the negative feedback system, and there's one called the positive feedback system. We're going to talk about negative feedback first, and we'll go through some examples, and then we'll talk about positive feedback. All right, so negative feedback is the one that is going to help maintain homeostasis by resisting change from the set point. For example, you start overheating, you're sitting outside, the sun's coming up, your body's starting to get hot. Your brain is like, wait a minute, we can't get this hot, this is bad, what can we do to fix it? So you start to sweat. Sweating's going to cool you down, your body temperature starts to come back down. So it's resisting that change of an increase in body temperature by trying to bring it back down to normal. You eat food, which is going to put a lot of blood sugar running through your veins. So what does your body do to get that extra sugar out of your bloodstream? The pancreas is going to release insulin, and insulin kind of forces those blood sugar or those sugar that's in your blood to go into your cells. And of course, from there, it gets used for other stuff, but we'll talk about that later. But basically, that's a response to, blood sugar levels should be here. You eat, they rise. And how are we going to get them back down to the normal level? Well, insulin does that for you. Okay, if you've ever shivered before because you're cold, that is your muscular system creating muscle contractions, which are going to produce heat. So you start to shiver. That's because that's your body's response to now your body temperature is getting too cool. So what are we going to do to warm you up to bring you back up to 98.6 degrees? Shivering, muscle contractions. Okay. So those are just 3 examples of how your body uses the negative feedback system to resist the change from the set point. We want to stay around the set point, somewhere in that range. We don't want to get too far away from it, because if it does, it could make it sick or it could kill us. So, all right, so there's 3 parts to the negative feedback system and how it works to regulate the body. You have your receptor or sensors. You got to have something that's going to pick up on the change, okay, so your body knows what's going on. Think of this as the thermostat in your house, which is going to monitor the temperature. You know, if it gets too hot, the AC will cut on. When it gets down to normal temperature, the AC cuts off, you know, and it keeps monitoring it, and that keeps happening to try to maintain the temperature that you want in the room. So you have certain things like that in your body that are going to pick up on, you know, changes from the set point. An example are chemical receptors of the medulla oblongata that is located in your brain stem, right at the base of your neck, at the base of your brain. We'll talk about that when we get to the nervous system. But the function of that is to detect carbon dioxide levels. Now, carbon dioxide levels, you don't want those increasing in your body. Carbon dioxide, if it increases too much, can kill you. I mean, that's what you're trying to breathe out of your body to maintain normal levels. So the chemoreceptors are the sensors or the receptors, the ones in the medulla oblongata, that are regulating, or at least monitoring, the carbon dioxide levels. Okay, so the sensor receptor picks up on, you know, any changes. You got to have a control center that's going to figure out what to do. Okay, so it takes all the information from all those receptors and sensors all over your body, figures out what to do, and then sends a response out to the body that's going to help change it. Now, in this case, it's usually directed by the brain. Spinal cord also can help with that. Those are the 2, you know, main parts of your control center. Spinal cord can work independently sometimes of the brain and help control things as well. So if those chemoreceptors picked up on high CO2 levels, it's going to look to the control center to tell it what to do, and basically from there, it's hopefully get told, hey, you need to tell the lungs to increase respiration rate. So it figures out what to do about it. That's what the control center is there for, to come up with a plan on how to fix it. And then the fixing is done by the effector organ or the gland, which is going to respond to that change and try to put it back to normal. Try to get back to that set value or set point. So in our case here, CO2 levels were too high. The brain told the lungs, hey, you need to start breathing a little faster, increase that respiration rate so that we can exhale more CO2 and inhale more oxygen. Okay. So again, 3 parts. You got to pick up on the what's being changed, and that's done by the receptor or sensor. That information is sent to the control center, usually the brain or spinal cord, which is going to tell another organ what to do to fix it. And then that other organ that's doing the fixing is called the effector organ or gland. All right, so that was negative feedback. This is positive feedback. Now, positive feedback is kind of opposite of negative feedback. It is a mechanism that can sometimes be problematic, but not always, because it amplifies its change from the set point. It's going to be moving. So here's your set point, and positive feedback is going to be moving away from the set point. It moves away from homeostasis. Sometimes medical intervention is needed to stop positive feedback. Not always, but sometimes. Examples of positive feedback, and in some of these cases, medical interventions, diabetes, like if you have diabetes and your pancreas is not creating the insulin the way it needs to. So you basically get medication from your doctor, and you have to either give yourself injections or take, pills or whatever to bring your blood sugars down, because your body's not doing it for you the way it should. Now, a normal one, this is not a bad one, the exercising. This is a normal positive feedback mechanism, because when you exercise, you need more energy, you need more oxygen. Oxygen is what's being used to create the ATP, which is the energy used by your muscle cells to do work, well, all cells, but in this case, if you're exercising, muscle cells. So, and then of course you're creating more CO2, which means you need to breathe faster. So exercise is going to increase a lot of things away from normal set levels. Your heart rate's going to increase, your breathing rate's going to increase, your blood pressure is going to go up. And that's to compensate for the rising oxygen needs. Now, there's no problem with this as long as when you are done exercising, all those systems go back to normal. If your body can handle, allowing it to go back to normal. And most of the time, people don't have issues. They exercise, they sit down, they rest, heart rate comes back down, breathing rate comes back down, everything's good. And then another one that is a normal one, but you still kind of need medical intervention for, is when pregnancy occurs and you're having the baby. That is positive feedback because your uterus is contracting, your blood pressure goes up, a whole lot of different things going on in that body that are not normal. Then you have to deliver the baby and all that. And but what's good is hopefully your body, once that baby is delivered, hopefully your body's systems will come back to normal. Okay, sometimes they're slow, like that uterus contracting back to normal size can take a while, but hopefully everything will go back to normal. And in that case, when it does start coming back to normal, that's when your negative feedback has kicked in to try to help bring everything back to set point. Okay, so positive feedback can be bad if it's something that's going to cause problems like, say, high blood pressure. Maybe you're overweight, maybe it's genetic, runs in the family, but no matter what you do, you can't get your blood pressure down, so you had to go to the doctor, he gives you pills. That would be medical intervention. Okay, positive feedback is keeping you away from the normal levels, and the doctor would have to help bring it back down with medication or something. But again, in other examples like the exercise and the pregnancy, those are just normal positive feedback mechanisms that hopefully eventually your negative feedback will be able to bring back to normal. Okay, so that's where we are going to stop with this section. We will continue on in my next lecture video on section 1.4. But again, for right now, please, you can use the OpenStax textbook. All this is in chapter 1. If you need more examples on negative and positive feedback, please check out the OpenStax chapter 1. There should be a table of contents. I'm sorry I didn't get the page numbers, but if you need more information on negative, because these are two very important topics that are going to continue through the entire course. We'll keep talking about, especially negative feedback. Okay, if you have any questions, you can email me or message me in Canvas. Until next time.